question. There is this misunderstanding often that girls are the only ones who struggle with insecurities. I think we both understand that guys struggle with insecurities just as much, but we just maybe mask it a little bit differently.
Sure.
And so my question to you is, how does a Christian or a young person that's just seeking, to please God, how do we deal with our insecurities? Are they just something that we have to learn to cope with, or are they something that we can actually overcome?
Okay, it's a great question. So let's talk about insecurities. I think the main thing to do is to understand where they come from and what the basic foundation of an insecurity in my life is. Now, I am insecure because I am relying on my own strength and ability. So my insecurity comes from my knowledge of what I'm truly capable of doing and what I'm trying to convince somebody else I'm capable of doing. Two different worlds. And so insecurity falls in there. Now, insecurity gets its strength in your life from pride.
Wow.
So because deep inside we're prideful, and we want people to think well of us.
For sure.
We want them to think that we are a success story. And so this pride in us begins to rise up, mixes with our knowledge of what we know we're capable of doing, and then what we're trying to convince others to do. And voila, you have a perfect scenario for insecurity. Absolutely. And these things begin to show themselves. So how do I fix that? How do I overcome that? Now, let me say, as a guy, that, a girl's insecurities is how she looks. A guy's insecurities is his capabilities, of what he's capable of doing. It's more of a strength aspect or knowledge or an activity, something that I'm capable of doing. So what we have to do in order to overcome our insecurities is we must come to the conclusion that this is not about me, it's about God.
Yeah. And
that what I'm doing, I'm not trying to do something to make me look good. Because here's how it works. My insecurity comes from the fact that I try to make myself look good through my strengths, which are insufficient. But God, if I can say it this way, makes me look good through my weaknesses.
Wow, yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So he takes my failures and my weaknesses and has a way of turning those things around and just getting glory out of them. And listen, I just want to tell you right now, insecurities, or you're all about, I want to look good, I want to sound good. You make God look good and you'll look good. You make God sound good and you'll sound good. You focus on God.
Yeah, that's right.
And let God get the glory, and that will remove your insecurities. Because when you truly understand that what you're trying to do is get God's message across, then you don't care what you look like, what you sound like, whether they loved it or didn't love it. The only thing that matters to you is, did I say what I believe God wanted me to say? And so insecurities can be minimized by making God the focus of what we're doing.
Wow. Pastor, that was really, really good.
Thank you.
I like that. Kind of a follow-up question. It's in the same field. In the essence that it's a very hot topic right now, more than I think it's ever been before. But things like mental illnesses. I see it all the time on social media. Things that are talked about right now a lot is things like insecurities, and then also things like mental illnesses. Depression, anxiety.
Yeah.
Things in that kind of ballpark.
Okay. Especially amongst our young people,
For
right?
sure.
I mean,
Sure.
it used to not be. But today, with everything that our kids are being bombarded with, Hollywood and media and the social world, they're not targeting me. I'm a 57-year-old man. My mind's made up. You're not changing me.
Absolutely.
I am who I am. Only God can change me. You're not molding my mind. My mind was molded on the bayou. So, but our kids, right? Our young people. And so all of this bombardment toward you. And now, first, I do want to differentiate here just a little bit. That true mental illness, the individual is, if I can say, powerless to control that.
Mm-hmm.
God either has to heal them, or medicine has to control it, or they have to try to figure out a way to work around those inabilities in their life.
Absolutely.
So I think we're talking more about on a level of, like you said, depression or anxiety. Now, mental illness can cause these things, but depression and anxiety isn't necessarily mental illness. And we all face depression, and we all face anxieties. These are real issues. And this is going to seem like a simple answer.
That's okay.
But it's the truth. Now listen, pastor gets depressed when we have a really difficult Sunday. And what I mean by difficult, I don't mean a bad Sunday. I just mean we had to fight demons. Mm-hmm. And we struggled, but God moved and blessed, and because the sanctuary always has incredible church. Always. But that Monday, sometimes I'll get up, man, I'm telling you, the oppression is just sort of, overwhelming.
For sure. And
all the things we got to do, and anxiety and depression will try to get a hold of my mind and a hold of my heart. So this is something that attacks all of us. No one is immune to this. And I have learned that if I'll just stop whatever I'm doing, put everything aside, go get by myself and get on my knees and just say, God, I need your help.
Yeah.
I need your help. Friend, I am telling you without failure, anxieties melt away, fears go away. And even though the pressure may still be there, the depression and anxiety leaves. You have got to stop and talk to God, because God has not given us a spirit of fear. And so he's the one we got to talk to get that away from us and get that out of us and get our focus realigned on what God is calling us to do that day.
It's funny you say that, because I think a problem that we face oftentimes is when we're going through these things, especially in this generation, we're very quick to go and talk to our friends about these things. And we'll go talk on social media about these things. If we're going to tweet about it, if we're going to go on Instagram about it. And we kind of highlight those problems, highlight the depression, highlight the anxiety, saying, listen, I have a problem. I have this in my life. And we always want to go shout to, from the mountaintops, but we never, we're always so slow to go and finally bring it to God.
Yeah.
When he should have been the first person on the list.
Yeah.
And if we would have done that first, then we wouldn't have had to suffer for so long with that.
And your communication with your peers would have been totally different.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Excellent.
I want to kind of address this question from someone who is just starting their walk with God. So what would your advice be to someone who is looking to start their prayer life, to jumpstart it? Maybe they're zealous right now, or even the person who might have been in this for a little bit, but just hasn't been able to really get their prayer life off the ground.
Right. I think one of the things we do, Aaron, with prayer is we complicate it. I mean, prayer is literally the simplest thing on the planet. It's talking to God. And when you learn to relax and talk, there's going to be times pastor travails, pastor gets on his face and cries and boo-hoos and snots and slobbers. Pastor screams and hollers. Pastor gets up and rebukes every spirit on the planet. We have those moments and those times in our prayer life. But the majority of prayer is just you talking to God about you. Now, I want to tell you what will help you with your prayer life, help you get connected with God with your prayer life, is, first of all, two things you should always talk to God about. Him, talk to him about him.
Absolutely.
How great he is, how awesome he is, and the list goes on. And talk to him about you.
For sure.
And be honest with yourself. Now, and with God, because he knows already. The other thing is, pick subjects that you are passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
Pray about things that you are passionate about. Don't just pray for the world. We know the world's lost. He died for the world. You pray for a friend that you really want to see saved. You pray for a loved one that you want to see saved. Or you pray for something in the kingdom or in your life that you really want to see God do, that you're passionate about. You connect with that and you won't have a problem launching deeper into prayer. And listen, don't worry about what all you're going to say in prayer. You connect with God and God will lead you in prayer.
For sure.
He will lead you in prayer. You'll pray about things that you never thought you'd ever pray about.
Something that helped me is I would actually remember I would make a list of things that just like you said, things I was passionate about, whether it be leadership or family or, friends at school or whatever it may be. And I would just go down the list and I would just cover. And seems like every single time I went back over that list, the Spirit would lead me in different places. And at first I was worried about just kind of being robotic in my prayers. But, the more I prayed and the more I learned, just to follow God, that list became longer and longer, and he would lead me places I wasn't even on that list. But I just wanted to make sure that I'm going to talk to God about these things. And I want to be, what's the word?
I have no idea.
There's a word there I'm looking for. Purposeful with my prayers. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Purposeful, focused.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to just be aimless.
Yeah.
I want to go in with a purpose. But
man, awesome.
What about when it comes to reading? Is there any translation?
Yeah. Well, okay, Bible translation, right? So, as apostolics, we lean really heavy towards the King James. Yeah, the King James version. And I've done a little study on it. I wouldn't call myself an expert in the area by any means. But I do believe that the King James Version is the most accurate. However, it is also one of the most difficult to understand. And I'm fully aware of that. So I tell you a Bible I like to read along with the King James Version. I like the American Standard Bible, I think it's called. And it really puts things in just good old English. And you kind of read that and then go back and read the King James and go, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
And then, but you can also, because you got the King James Version there, right? You can say, no, I think y'all read too much into that, over here with the other translations. So I suggest strongly that you keep the King James Version handy as a good guide of what you're reading. But it's okay to read other Bibles as long as you're constantly going back.
Absolutely.
And, comparing it.
Is there anywhere, say they want to, because it's a big book and you can be intimidated sometimes when you're first starting out. Where should they start? Where do you recommend someone say, I'm going to start right here? Genesis?
No, I really think one of the best things you can do as a new Christian is start with the teachings of Jesus Christ. Just go and get the Sermon on the Mount, his different teachings. Take your time. Look at the subjects that he's covering, the things he's talking about. Because these things that he's talking about, they're covered in more detail in all the other parts of the Word of God. But if I'm someone new, I want to start with the guy that made all this happen.
Absolutely.
And then I'll branch out from there. And then from there, at the same time, Book of Acts, but from there, the Book of Acts, because the Book of Acts is the results of the obedience of the disciples concerning the teachings of Jesus Christ. And that's what produced the Book of Acts.
Absolutely.